Hello, sweetheart. I'm going to read you a beautiful story so you can feel warm and cozy under your blankets. If you want, you can set your phone or tablet aside and let your imagination spark to life. The Little Seashell Library. On a quiet stretch of coastline where the sand was warm and soft like powdered sugar, there was a tiny cove called Mooncrest Bay. The waves there didn't crash or roar, they rolled in gently, whispering soft shh sounds as they reached the shore. The air always smelled like salt and sunshine, and the wind carried the faint laughter of seagulls drifting lazily overhead. Tucked against a cluster of smooth round rocks sat a very small, very cozy wooden hut with a sign above the door that read, "The Little Seashell Library." It was run by a friendly sea otter named Coral. Coral loved three things more than anything else in the world: quiet mornings, warm tea, and stories, especially the ones whispered by the ocean. Every day, she polished the seashells that decorated her library, making them shine like tiny moons. Some were placed on shelves, some hung from ropes, some lined the windowsills. Together, they made the whole hut sparkle softly whenever sunlight touched them. One sunny day, Coral opened the door to the library, holding a small broom made of seagrass. She swept gently, humming a tune she made up herself, a slow tune that sounded a bit like the rhythm of waves. A little bell above the door tinkled. Someone had arrived. Coral turned to see a young hermit crab named Pebble making his way inside. Pebble wore a spiraled shell on his back that gleamed faintly like pearl. He was shy and quiet, and he always walked in tiny, careful steps. "Hello," Pebble said, his little voice soft as a bubble popping. "Hello, Pebble," Coral replied warmly. "You're up early today." Pebble nodded. "I woke up before the tide came in. I thought maybe there'd be a story waiting for me." Coral smiled. "There's always a story waiting." Pebble climbed onto a comfy cushion shaped like a starfish. Coral poured 2 tiny cups of sea mint tea, placing one beside him. "What kind of story are you in the mood for?" Coral asked. Pebble looked around at the shelves of shells, spiral ones, smooth ones, ridged ones, glowing softly. "Something calm," he said. "Something soft. Maybe about the ocean being gentle." Coral nodded. "I know just the thing." She reached for a smooth oval seashell resting on the highest shelf. Its surface shimmered like pale silver. "This," she said softly, "is a whisper shell. If you hold it close and listen, it shares a story of the sea." Pebble blinked with curiosity. "I didn't know shells could do that." "Oh, some can," Coral whispered, "especially the quiet ones." She placed the whisper shell in Pebble's claws. "Go on," she encouraged. "Hold it to your ear." Pebble lifted the shell carefully and pressed it against the side of his head. At first he heard only a faint hush, the same kind the waves made on the sand, but slowly, very slowly, a gentle voice drifted through the shell. It told a story about a tiny tide pool where little fish shimmered like floating rainbows. A story about seagrass meadows that swayed like soft dancers. A story about a sleepy dolphin who liked to take long naps in the warm shallows. A story about morning sunlight painting the water in soft gold. Pebble closed his eyes as the story unfolded in slow, dreamy waves. Coral sat beside him, sipping her own cup of tea. She didn't speak. She didn't move much. She simply watched Pebble relax. The whisper shell's voice continued. It spoke of a forgotten sandbar, smooth as silky clay, where sea turtles rested their flippers and let the sun warm their shells. It told of gentle currents that carried sleepy starfish from one cozy rock to another. It told of quiet caves glowing with blue-green light where nothing was in a hurry. Pebble's breathing slowed, his shoulders softened, his tiny claws loosened their grip on the shell. The story inside the whisper shell was so soft, so warm, so peaceful that Pebble felt like he was floating. Finally, the story ended with a whisper. "Rest, little one. The ocean is calm today." Pebble opened his eyes slowly, blinking as if waking from a warm dream. "That was really nice," he said, his voice barely more than a sigh. Coral smiled gently. "The ocean has many stories like that. Some loud, some playful. But the soft ones are the ones that help us breathe a little slower." Pebble nodded, leaning back against his cushion. "I think the soft ones are my favorite." Outside, the waves continued their slow rhythm. The sunlight entered the library in warm stripes. A seagull glided low, quiet, and steady. A crab scuttled by, dragging a smooth pebble across the sand. Coral looked at Pebble and said, "You're welcome to stay as long as you like." Pebble curled gently into his shell, his tiny eyes beginning to close. "I think I'll just rest here for a little while," he whispered. Coral nodded and quietly adjusted the window shades so the light became softer. She returned to her sweeping, slow strokes, gentle hums, so Pebble could drift deeper into calm. Inside the little Seashell library, everything was warm, peaceful, and sleepy. And with the whisper shell still resting beside him, Pebble drifted into a cozy nap, dreaming of gentle tides, dancing seagrass, and the hush of an ocean that loved telling quiet stories. Good night, sweetheart.